How to find the most active cash buyers in your market right now is our topic for today. We have a special guest who will be joining any second. It looks like he's here actually. So let me get Burton on over. I'm excited selfishly for today's topic because I need to get better at this strategy or get this dialed in because I have more and more deals, listings, etc. that I need to disposition and find the right buyer for. And I love bringing on guests that scratch my own itch. And I think this is a topic that seems to be of interest because we had a lot of people respond, a lot of new people register for the mastermind, etc. I am going to take care of a couple of housekeeping items and tee this up a little bit to give this some context. So Burton, just bear with me for a couple of minutes while I tee things up. We just finished the 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge last week and was pretty excited by some of the results of the participants. So our fastest agent to 5 appointments was Erin Kelly. She did it in about, and if I remember correctly, it was less than 2 hours on our very first session. So the first Zoom session, she got 5 appointments while we were live. If I remember correctly, Joan actually scheduled 8 that day. That's pretty cool. What was even cooler to me was Heather McPherson shared last week that her email was very modest to me. She said, I didn't reach my goal. She had personally set a goal of 10 listings taken during the challenge. She said, I didn't reach my goal, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I got close. She took 8 listings during our 5-week challenge. Pretty friggin' cool. So primarily me, am cleaning up the replays and the resources, the bonuses, etc. for that, and we'll make that available on demand for those who might be interested in checking that out. And then we will likely be doing our fall 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge starting at the end of September, early October. As soon as I have the dates set on that, I will certainly let you know. I said all along, very transparently, that one of the reasons I was doing the challenge was for myself. And so I didn't take 8 listings. Heather did, but I got pretty close. I also was just so happened to get some contracts on some of my other listings during that time as well, just very selfishly and transparently. For me, it grew. It helped me grow my business as well. So cool stuff on that. Kudos to Heather and Erin, and we had a bunch of great participants in the challenge. We had Tom, David, we had Anna. Anna had some great results as well. I think Anna maybe took 3 listings during the challenge. Lots of really good stuff from that. Here's what inspired or prompted today's session. And it's a little bit meta in the sense that using PropStream, I've been having a considerable amount of conversations and even more appointments with motivated and or distressed sellers. I've been using the process that I outlined a few weeks ago to identify potentially distressed or motivated sellers. For those of you that missed it, it was a session that unfortunately I wasn't able to upload the replay to YouTube because I was showing data, people's personal emails and phone numbers and stuff, and so YouTube will flag those when I do that. However, I did put it in our free school community, and if you go and join the community, I'll get the link in the chat in a minute, but you can go and join the community for free, and under replays, okay, right here, you go to classroom and then replays, the replay from July 9th. This will outline how I am using PropStream to find data, to skip trace, and then what other tools I am using to scrub the data and then do cold outreach to get hand raisers, to get those distressed, motivated sellers to raise their hand. It is working like gangbusters for me. and that's not just hyperbole. I had 3 appointments with sellers Monday. I had 3 more yesterday, and I have 3 this afternoon. 3 this afternoon. I set another one this morning. Not all of them, not every single one of them is coming from this process outlined here, but a good, I would say more than half of them are. And so that has created the next problem for me, which I have these motivated sellers. And obviously, when it makes sense, we're going to put them on market, but not all of them are willing and able to list with me. And so I've been thinking more and more about how can I find who are the most active, interested buyers in my market. And that's what prompted me to reach out to Burton and get him on our mastermind calendar, because though we have done a ton of sessions over the years, Burton and I don't know that we've done one specifically on identifying the cash buyers, the fix and flippers, the landlords, etc. And so today's session is to scratch my own itch. I made notes. I have 5 different use cases of sellers that I would love to try and find some cash buyers, some potentially active investors for. And just for you, the other reason I thought this was timely is for most people, you're heading into a slower season, meaning when kids go back to school, like this is a time of year that activity tends to start to dip a little bit. And if you're like me, I want my pipeline to stay as full as possible. So doing more deals, finding more opportunities to work with investors during the fall and winter months is one way that I am proactively, or one strategy I'm proactively implementing on so I can keep my pipeline as full as possible. And so without further ado, Burton, let's talk about using PropStream to find the cash buyers or the investor buyers or the active buyers in different market segments and the different strategies for doing that with PropStream.
I love this. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First off, Josh, thank you so much for organizing this, and thank you so much for having us. Really means a lot. Anybody that's here, ask any questions you might have about what I'm going over today. I only have one PowerPoint I'm going to be sharing to you guys just to organize the process of how I would approach trying to find the right buyer for your listing. So with that said, let me share my screen and...
Oh, wait a minute here. Were you able to? Let me,
sent that request, and the answer is yes, I'm able to.
Okay,
now.
Perfect. And while Burton is bringing up his screen, 2 things. I am dropping the link to our free school community in the chat. And if you are watching the live stream on Facebook, 2 things. Do me a huge favor. Give it a thumbs up. And B, if you want to hop on over to the Zoom room with us, there is a link with the live stream that you can do that. I will also put in the comments the link to our free school community there as well for those that want to check it out. Sorry, Burton, go ahead.
No, that's very important. As a matter of fact, I can't see the Facebook comments, so come join the Zoom room if you do have a question you'd like to ask directly. Great.
Right on.
Here is the screen I'm going to be sharing with you guys, and this is the only PowerPoint I wanted to share with you guys. So if you guys want to take a quick screenshot or use your photographic memory to memorize it, that'd be great. But here's my approach to finding a buyer for your listing. Okay, so we're going to go over each step, and then we'll go through that in PropStream. First thing I would recommend is search your listing. You can get a lot of information about the property, right? Think of finding a buyer like finding like a dating app. Right? There's tons of different buyers out there. There's buyers that buy mobile homes, buyers that buy hotels, buyers that buy vacant land, buyers that buy multifamily units, buyers that buy single family properties. So what you don't want to do is cast a large net, because you might end up wasting time and money focusing your efforts on not the right type of buyer. So the word cash buyer is good for all of us, but we still have to narrow down that noise, right? We got to find the right cash buyer. And the reason I want you to search your listing is so that you can go to step 2, which is check our demographics.
And when to be clear, when Burton says search your listing, he literally means on PropStream, bring up your listing, like put the address in and search and pull up that data on your listing.
So let's run through that really quick. So let's say I'm in PropStream. I'm in Southern California. So let's say Denver. We're in Denver right now. And Josh, in our previous video, I challenged myself. I said, I'm going to go find me some motivated sellers. So We are going over buyers, but note that PropStream does have motivated sellers too, like tax delinquencies and whatnot. So just for this example, I'm going to grab one of the tax liens of the 10,000 that we have here in Denver. And let's just, again, play make believe right now with me. Okay. Let's say 5471 Ensenada Court, Denver, Colorado is one of my listings. The homeowner just signed that contract. Great. Now I'm here in this demonstration with Burton trying to find the best buyer for this. So here's what I would do. Take your listing, the address, and type it in PropStream. So I'm going to do that right now. 5471 Ensenada Court in Denver, Colorado. So when you pull up your listing or the address, you're going to see a brief description here on the right side. I want you to go into the details. So look for details and go ahead and click on that. And when you're in our property card, you're going to be able to see the mortgage. You're going to be able to see the lien info, maybe photos because it's listed or not listed. A lot of data that we have, but the one data set I want you to pay attention to is our demographics. It's this tab right here. And the sole reason I want you to pay attention to our demographics is because it's not demographics to the city or the zip code. It's demographics within a 1 mile radius of that property. That's the only reason I want you to click on it. And why I want you to go here is the first box. I want you to understand the layout of that 1 mile radius. How many owners are there in that 1 mile radius versus how many people are renting in that 1 mile radius? And right now there's a 90 to 10% ratio, meaning 9 out of 10 people are buying in this 1 mile radius versus renting in this 1 mile radius. So that leads me now to finding the right buyer and or flipper for this property. So step one, I need to not only know my property and its characteristics, because I got to find the buyer who would want that characteristic, right? So if it's a single family property built in 1945, yes, I obviously need a buyer buying properties that are single family and is comfortable between those years of 1930 and 1950, perhaps, right? But that buyer also has a strategy, and that's what I need to identify. This is a strategy for a fix and flipper environment. So if I take this listing and I try to market it to renter buyers or landlord buyers, or hey, the owner of this property wants to rent it out, it might take a long time to find someone. Not saying you can't do it, but this is, again, not an environment where there's a lot of renters. So if anything, 90% of your efforts should be focused on this listing should be marketed to a family that wants to live in this area for the next 30 years. Because again, 90% are moving in, or a fix and flipper, someone who sees this property tab that's currently listed in my listings, renovate it, and then sell it to a family who wants to move in for the next 30 years or more, right? So first step, pull up your listing, go into the details of PropStream, and that second step, you to go into the demographics. And then I want you to identify that ratio. How many owners versus renters are there in this market? Third step. Now that you know the ratio of owners versus renters, I want you to now search the city and or the zip code. So what we'll do here is we'll pull that zip code. We'll go out of that property. And then we're going to go ahead and go into our search bar, make sure everything's cleared. We're going to search that zip code because that's where the listing resides in. And then we're going to go back into that search filter. But now I'm going with intention, right? I'm not just looking for buyer, right? I'm probably going to look for a flipper. So go in the zip code, show me all the flippers. There's 14 of them, right? So now I can look at these flippers. What a flipper is, if you're new to PropStream, is any property that was bought previously, of course, and within 2 years of its purchase is now listed on the market. So this property right here, as you can see, this property was purchased. If we go really quick over the summary here, this property was purchased. My data pulls up here. There we go. This property was purchased about 5 months ago in cash. You can see the cash transaction on March 19th of 2025. And 5 months later, literally $600,000 is its listing price. So we definitely have a small spread here. So it looks like someone just did some quick renovations, staged it up, cleaned out the carpet, put some design while vacuuming, and now they're just putting it back on the market, right? So flippers, what does that mean? That means someone who bought and their listing or their property is now listed on the market. Why is that good for me? when this property sells, you guys are going to need another project. Hello, I got a listing right in your vicinity for you. So this would be a great category. Why? Because 90% buyer environment. This is the buyer. They buy properties, they renovate it or make it look nice, and then they sell it to somebody else. So I would start here because of the fact that my percentile owner versus renter was 90 to 10, right? So I'd start by clicking on flippers. That would be my first way of building a buyer's list. So first list I would build would be flippers based on that demographic breakdown. But then we're not done yet. I need to find not just any flipper, I need to find a residential. So while there is 14, we still need to control that noise. I'm going to look for that residential single family flipper. Now, when we were looking at that house, it was a 3-bedroom, 2 bathrooms. Yes, again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to narrow down. So in this case, maybe I'm looking for a buyer who's comfortable buying between 2 to 4 units. You don't want to put the exact characteristics of the property because, again, you're never going to find 2 houses that are identical. So in this case, what I'm saying is, hey, I have a 3-bedroom, 2 bathrooms. Instead of finding me a 1-bedroom buyer or a 7-bedroom buyer, find me the ones that are 2 to 4 bedrooms because they'll be comfortable if I approach them with a 3-bedroom. They'll look at it and be like, well, I do buy 2 bedrooms. I've also looked at upgrading to 3 bedrooms. Or maybe that 4-bedroom buyer is, hey, this 3-bedroom still has good margins. Let me go ahead and get it from you. So what we don't want to do is present a 3-bedroom property to someone who's buying mansions because they're going to be like, what are you doing? That's way out of my league. So narrow down bedrooms, the year it was built, anything that, especially if you're dealing with a market where there's a lot of buyers. Now, in this case, I have 11 flippers, so don't have to get too specific. I could literally just leave it to the bedrooms, 2 to 4 units, single family, and we can go from there. But if you're in a large environment, lots of results, and you don't want to market to 5,000, I would just keep adding characteristics along the way. Okay. So this is the first search, flippers, and then just narrow down their property details or the type of property that you're usually focused on. Once you're done, go ahead and view those 11 properties. And that's the first list I would build based on the property's demographics, which is 90% owners are in this environment. So I need a fix and flipper who's going to buy from me, renovate it, and then list it for sale for one of those 90% people that want to move into this market. So we're going to check off this list, and then we're going to go to actions, and then we're going to hit save, and then we're going to hit create new because this is my first list in this market, 80249 fix and flipper buyers. And I have list number 1. Now let's just assume, for whatever the reasons are, that this market is opposite. There was a 90% renter environment versus a buyer environment. So let's play make believe. In that scenario, I would have not gone to flippers first. I would have built renter buyers instead. And so here's how to do it. So let's repeat the process. Let's clear
Hey,
our
Burton.
search. Yes, Josh, go ahead.
Could you, this is one of my scenarios. Could we use an actual property that I have where I have a tired landlord who tenant just left? He's not like desperate to sell, but is at a point where he's ready to start liquidating the single family properties he has as they go vacant. I would love to use that as selfishly as a use case to see how we would do that for this specific property.
Yeah. So if you want to slap the address in chat?
Here, I'll just give it to you. 142 West Penn Street, Carlisle.
Is it PENN?
Yes.
There it is. So the first thing I would do, based on the steps, pull up that property, go into the details right away, look at the demographics, understand what that makeup is. There's renters. So 70% renters than there are owners.
Definitely.
He's a landlord. He's just tired of probably doing it. But that doesn't change the makeup of the environment. Just because you're tired of being a landlord doesn't mean people are going to stop being renters in the area. They're going to continue on with or without. So knowing that there's a 70% to 30% renter environment, I'm going to do exactly what we did a few moments ago. Search the listing, went to demographics, and understood the makeup. Now that I know there's more renters than there are fixed and flippers or buyers in the area, I would then go for option number B. So with the previous search, because there was a high buyer environment, I went for a fix and flipper. But because there's a high renter environment here, I'm going to take a different approach. What I'm going to look for are individuals that buy with portfolios, right? So I'm not just looking for any buyer. I'm looking for a buyer who also has a portfolio. So pull up that property. Actually, before I go any further, I forgot to write down the details of that property. What was that address? 142 West Penn
142 West Penn. Yep.
My memory is
Look
once
at that.
something is there, it stays there. So that's a 3-2. What are we looking here? What type of property? Is this single family?
The
Yes.
townhome. It's saying, for whatever reason, Cumberland County, sometimes townhomes show up as single family, but it's a, yeah.
It's very common. And I love that you
Yeah.
said that because that still happens to this very day. We'll get properties get labeled vacant land, but there's new construction on it. But the county takes literally years before they do anything about it. What I'm doing is just writing down the beds, bathrooms, the year built, and the property type, because again, I want to narrow down the type of buyer I'm looking for. So search the zip code or the city, go into our search filter, because again, we have more of a renter than a flipper environment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go for the cash buyers. So these are all, to help you guys out, these are all non-owner cash transactions already. So they're not owner occupied, not someone who saved up 20 years of their life savings and then bought a house and now they're going to retire in it forever. These are the non-owner cash transactions. So they bought it, they don't live in it. Whatever their intentions are, we're almost certain because they don't live in it, it's probably for their investment needs. So I'd start with that. Cash buyers, and just a previous search, go into the property details, and then we narrow down what we're looking for. Now, since Josh mentioned that this is residential, single family, but also is labeled townhome, you have that option to choose both. So we can select single family and we can do townhouse if we need to. And why is that? This area may not be labeled townhouse, but a block or two down the street may be labeled because it's newly developed and the county decided, okay, we'll change labels now. So better safe than sorry, select all that applies is the way I go. Okay, so step 1, buyers. Step 2, single family townhouses. Just like in our previous search, we want to narrow down who we're looking for. So 2 to 4 units or 4 bedrooms, because this was a 3-bedroom. It has 1 bathroom, but we don't have to worry about that because typically 2 to 4 bedrooms have their designated bathroom amount, right? You're never going to see like a 2-bedroom with 10 bathrooms. So let's just understand that. And then the year built, I noticed that property was built in 1969. So again, if we're using that as an example, I would just look for a buyer that's comfortable between maybe 1940 to 1980. And that's essentially the goal, is to find that individual. I might be too fast here. All right. Last thing I want you guys to do, and again, only because this is a renter environment, we looked for a cash buyer, right? These are the non-owner occupied cash transactions. We narrowed down our property details: residential, single family townhouses, 2 to 4 bedrooms, built between 1940 and 1980. Last thing I want you to do, because this is again a high renter environment, go into our owner information section, and there's a filter that says numbers of properties owned. So again, buyers buy different types of properties, but there are also buyers who are just starting to buy properties, meaning they're buying and they're not ready to buy another property. So what I would recommend to increase the probability of actually getting this sold, and because it's a high renter environment, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone using this filter, saying, hey, look, I'm looking for someone who's comfortable with renting. Hence, that's why I'm looking for a portfolio. But if they have a portfolio, that means they have pretty deep pockets. So if I bring this up to them and it's a deal, more than likely they're going to take that because it's already in their area. They already have multiple rental properties and it suits their criteria. So don't just look for any cash buyers, especially if it's a high renter environment. Look for a cash buyer with the portfolio. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, anytime you're looking for a cash buyer, I would just look for a buyer with a portfolio. And I'll tell you, this is just my honest opinion. I would always make that a standard filter. Find me a buyer with a portfolio. And the reason for that is that buyer is going to look at your listing maybe in two separate lenses. For example, fix and flipper, let's say that's all they do is just fix and flip. What do you think is going to happen when you present your contract to them? They're just going to look it in the eyes of a fix and flipper. So if the margins aren't good, if the environment is not owner environment, they might move on to the next listing. But if you come across someone who's a cash buyer with a portfolio, more than likely, not only are they renting properties, but they're also letting go of the properties that are not cash flowing, meaning they're also a fix and flipper. So do you present your contract to just a person who does one strategy, or do you present your contract to someone who has a spectrum of strategies? And so that's why I would suggest no matter anytime you're doing a buyer's list, I would say find a buyer with multiple properties. And remember, buyers aren't just buyers. They might be sellers. So while you bring them a contract, they might have a property in their portfolio today that's not working out for them. And you're bringing them a contract and they might say, oh, hold on, while we're working together, can you run a comp for me on this other property of mine?
I can't help myself. I got to let the cat out of the bag. I spoke with a bunch of the people that Burton's about to pull up this morning, and I'll tell you exactly what happened with, I think, 4 of them I spoke to personally. Please continue to watch if you're curious about my conversations with several of the folks that Burton is about to pull up here.
Absolutely. And that's where the final step would be made. So again, let's just repeat the process from the beginning. We just follow through with that PowerPoint. So Josh gave me his listing. I searched it, 142 West Penn Street. I went into the demographics solely to see what that makeup was. And I discovered that there was 90% owner to a renter environment, or I'm sorry, 90% renter to owner environment in this area, right? So now that I know that, I searched the zip code. And when I'm filtering for my buyer, what I did, knowing that there's a high renter environment, I looked for a cash buyer with multiple properties. And so now that I've done that, that yielded me 82 results. So here are 82 addresses that were bought in cash by somebody or an entity. And that somebody or entity has 10 or more properties. So this property in Douglas Drive, again, was bought in cash. If we want to look at the records, 4 months ago, this LLC bought it in cash, and look at the characteristics similar to our property, right? Because I narrowed down the characteristics. But this LLC also has 14 other properties under the portfolio. So when I go to them, I say, hey, I have a listing that just so happens to be in your vicinity. It's same makeup as the properties that you're buying. Would you be interested? So you don't want to, again, you don't want to go, it's like going into a buffet with the lights completely off, like pitch black. Like you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to try to guess what you're putting on your plate. Don't do that. Really control that noise. And you have the ability to do so utilizing our data, but you do need to find some key information. Again, I can't emphasize enough that the demographics could really guide you as to what type of buyer that you need, whether it's a fix and flip buyer or a landlord buyer. But Josh, that's it. The final step after that, ladies and gentlemen, would be to save your results. So again, just like our previous search, you can check off those 82 cash transactions with multiple properties and hit save. And so here I would do the same thing, 17013 buyers with portfolios, or maybe type in the address and renter buyers around this property, whatever you want to name it. And then Josh, before I show them the last part, do you want to add anything to that?
No. So here's what I'll say. Once Burton shows the last part, I'll share exactly the strategy I used to reach out and the 3 main questions that I asked everyone that I was able to connect with this morning, which was, I'm talking a small window, literally a 20-minute window. I had 4 incredible conversations with extremely active, ready, willing, and able buyers.
You know what? That's more valuable than what I'm about to show. So let me just show what I'm about to show really quick. And then, yeah, let's talk about that. The third step, and something that I think is very overlooked. So we talked about finding a fix and flip buyer. We talked about finding a portfolio buyer, a landlord buyer, right? The third one is the neighbors. Don't forget, the neighbors sometimes want to buy up the whole area. So you can find the neighboring data by searching the address, going into the details. And then from there, you can go into our comparables and nearby listings. And we actually have a category for it. You can click on neighbors. And then from there, you can see any of the local neighbors. Now, my suggestion is what you probably want to do is see if there's any neighbors recently buying. So we have 2 here, maybe 3 if you want to consider the 2018. But what I would suggest is going to those transactions that are within like the last 5 years and going into the details of each of those properties. And the reason I want you to go into the details of those properties that were bought within the last 5 years around this listing is go into that address that was bought, find out who that buyer is, and see if that buyer has multiple properties. That's why. So this person is a neighbor of this property. And trust me, this person probably wants to grow by the block. So the third option is who is a neighbor to this address that's buying properties actively. And I found one right here. This individual here, Shayla Lewis, might need to reach out to her, Jeff. She has 4 properties, and one of them is right by the subject property that you just gave me. So that's something to consider.
We're getting some great questions, so much so that I'm going to keep everybody on the hook for my results from this morning.
No problem.
The
and that's the third option right there, guys.
Okay.
So just check out the neighbors, look at recent transactions, view the details, and then what I would recommend is put those individuals on a third list, call it your neighbors buying up the block list. So with the 150 Penn Street, that's one I would also put on the block. We'll also show you, there's a legend if it was a cash transaction as well. So sometimes you might even see it's not just a neighbor, but it's a neighbor buying in cash. And so
you're a legend, just for the record, you're a legend. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words, but I'm going to.
So we have one question that's on topic and one that is PropStream related, but a little bit of a pivot, let's say. So Kathy asks, can this be used, like conceptually, the principles be used for business listings as well, commercial business, things of that nature?
Oh, absolutely. The demographics may not apply, obviously, to a commercial building. So I would say if you are going to use this for an office space or multifamily or whatever, you might just need to just skip 1 and 2. So just go straight into step 3. So let's say that property is in this zip code here, 17013. Go in our filter, look for a buyer. But the only deviation that you'll do here, Kathy, is under property details. Here, you'll specify exactly what type of commercial buyer you're looking for. And I want to emphasize too, because I know there might be a different interpretation of commercial. So I want to show you both. If you're referring to multifamily, that's going to be housed in the residential box. So click on residential and you'll see all of our multifamily options. The way that we consider multifamily is if a body is able to live in it, it's residential. So this would be your 2 to 4 units, your apartment complexes, your garden houses, and your mobile homes and trailer parks. But then we have true commercial, and this category here, we're talking gas stations, mini warehouses, bakeries, auto repair locations, and whatnot. I just want to make sure that our definition here at PropStream, residential will house anything that someone can live in, whether it's single family or multifamily. And then commercial is, as you can see here, department stores, office spaces, and stuff like that. We also have vacant land for vacant land investors that are watching, and other as well. This includes office, industrial, agricultural, recreational, and even transportation and exempt properties like churches and schools and whatnot.
A whole bunch of things to unpack with this. Number one, Low King, thank you for reminding me to share my PropStream affiliate link, which is in the chat. You can get a free trial at growwithjosh.com/PS. If or when you sign up for your free trial, make sure you email me because I have some cool bonuses, including free marketing credits that I can hook you up with. So definitely email me. Yeah, Josh at growwithjosh.com. Number 2, when you are using the tool, I would highly recommend, for example, in Kathy's use case, you have to play with the filtering because different counties and even different segments of counties, they document the data differently. Don't assume that if you go to other and you go to, I don't know, industrial general and you click that and it says 0 properties, that obviously doesn't mean there are actual 0 properties, right? It means that area, for whatever reason, has some other way of classifying. And sometimes it's just a little trial and error, and you have to click around and try different things until you find, okay, here's how, with this tool, here's how I can find this data set. Just because that happens, don't just give up. It just means you might have to find other creative ways to find the data set that you're looking for.
And let me show you the other creative way, because I love what Josh just said. And so that exactly is a problem that's just going to be around. It's an inherited problem you're going to have to deal with.
And
So what
it's not
Josh
a
is saying is that
PropStream problem. Like, just
no,
know,
no,
like,
it's
it
not.
PropStream aggregates the data the best they can, but they're
Yes,
limited by the data that is provided to them.
absolutely. And so we get this question a lot, Burton. I'm trying to go in your filter. I'm trying to look for gas stations and nothing appears. And as Josh mentioned, it's probably due to just the labeling system. So, for example, we can scroll down here and we can see this shopping center, right? Home Depot. That's obviously a warehouse if you were to gut it all out and take the labeling out of it, right? But is that what that county actually labels it at? So when I click on this Home Depot building here, what is this whole building labeled at? So when I go into details, it's labeled as a department store. So in one county, they might just call it an industrial building, but in this particular zip code, they actually label it a department store. So if I go into PropStream and I want to find buildings like this one, then I'm going to look for a department store. So it's a little bit of reverse engineering. Let's say you start here first and you're looking for something that's labeled triplex and nothing is showing up. And you're wondering, that's impossible. I drive by multiple triplexes every day. It's probably because it's not labeled triplex.
Yeah.
And so what I want you to do is go on the map, find a triplex and click on it and see what it's labeled as. Or if you are going to be doing triplexes and quadruplexes and stuff like that, again, we're trying our best to accommodate noise out there. And so we've introduced even a unit number filter for you. So you could say, look, I don't even know what they label it at. It's confusing. So just show me all the 3 units, minimum, 3 units max. So anything with 3 units only, that's what I want to find. And no matter whatever it's labeled as, we're going to be able to isolate that for you. So thank you, Josh, for bringing that up. It's something that's just always going to be there. We just said it earlier. You might come across something labeled vacant land and you're like, what? Hold on here. There's a building on it. Why is it still labeled vacant land? And that's just because the county is labeling it that way still to this very day.
For me, that's not an obstacle. It's an opportunity, because if you're the one that problem solves for that, it means that people trying to do the same thing, your competition trying to do the same thing, they will likely give up. Let's just face it. People are not all that resilient, all things considered. The folks on here probably more resilient than most, but like, for me, that screams opportunity. When I go to a county and I'm looking for, okay, I want to see all the mobile home parks, and I go mobile home parks and it says 0, and I know there are 27 mobile home parks in that county, I just have to figure out how to find them. And as simple and silly as this sounds, I never thought of just bringing them up on the map where they are located and clicking on it and seeing what. So, like, for me, Burton, you just made me a ton of money just from that one little nugget that I had never. It's a simple
and you know what's
concept,
even
but
crazy? Sometimes the hard work is already done. Like I was working with a lady who invests in mobile parks. That's all she does. She does RV parks actually, because the cash flow is wild for her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Heather, by the way. And so she was like, Burton, every time I'm in PropStream, no matter what city, county I'm in, when I look up RV parks, sometimes I get some, sometimes I get 0, or sometimes I get a fraction of what's even out there.
yeah,
So we showed her how to click on the map. And then I remember one day we were just sitting there and I'd be like, what if we used Airbnb or some sort of like reservation website that shows like every RV park in the nation? I'm sure it has their addresses. And that was it.
Yeah.
So now she uses a third party reservation site. She doesn't even reserve anything. She just goes to a zip code, show me all the RV parks I can reserve. And then she takes that data and imports into PropStream. And now she has, no matter what the labeling is, she has the information. So it could be labeled RV park, it could be labeled other, it could be labeled vacant land, doesn't matter. She took the other websites, because they did all the hard work. They organized all the RV parks. So she just extracted that and brought it over. So to your point, if you're having a hard time finding all the storage facilities, because that's what you specialize in, and our labeling isn't matching because the county doesn't help, there is a website in that area that lists all the storage facilities. Grab all those addresses and then just search them one at a time here at the top, save them to a list, and there's your list of storage facilities.
One other thing I want to point out from Kathy's question, and then I want to get to Shay's question, because Shay's question, I think he knows what he's doing here. But Shay's question, for those of you that are hungry and want to create opportunities out of thin air, Shay's question is going to be magical for you. I'm not exaggerating at all. for Kathy's question, when you're talking about commercial business type properties, the one additional suggestion I would make is in most cases, you'll have to expand the geography search that you're looking for. And I'll give a very specific example of this. So the next thing, so what Shay is question, when we answer that question, this is an example of me doing what Shay is asking. I found a listed distressed property. I found active buyer, an active cash buyer in that area. I called it. Had a great conversation, and we looked at the property. It's misrepresented in the MLS. It's just misrepresented. It wasn't going to make sense for him. But it was still well worth my time because in it, he says, I've got some residential buildings and I'll offer on them. But really what I'm looking to do is grow my commercial portfolio. And I'm specifically looking for a shopping, like small shopping centers, strip mall type things. And he's open. Now, I'm a little bit more rural than some of you. I know I say that a lot. It's not like I don't live in the middle of nowhere, but we're not super densely populated. He'll look at anything in like my 4-county radius that fits his buy box. And he's got a fund that he's put together, him and his buddies, where if the deal is right, they'll buy cash, or if it doesn't make sense to go that route, he's got financing in line. And my point in sharing that is, like, most of those guys, I have another guy that's looking for a beer distributor, like he wants a beverage store. And he'll look at anything in that same four county area because there's just not that many available. Like he knows what he wants, and he can't, like, if he were only looking in Mechanicsburg, there's 4. And so when supply is limited, demand is high, those people, anyway, point is you might have to broaden out your scope. One other thing I want to mention before, no, I keep delaying Shay's question. But the option 3 that Burton shared, which was the geographic grouping, that is a great strategy for vacant land as well. Because I've sold lots of vacant land to the neighbor or one of the neighbors, because they don't want someone else to own it, right? They don't want to have an eyesore on it or whatever. They want to control it. And so that strategy is a great one. And in that scenario, it doesn't have to be someone who's a cash buyer investor. It just is the neighbor, and they're like, I want this because I don't want someone else to have it, right? Because I don't want to have to worry about what is so-and-so going to put on this parcel of land. Okay, Shay's question. Using PropStream, how do you find homes that are actively listed under market value, and by how far undervalued they are? And Burton is going to share that in a minute, but here's the unlock for you. Literally, with the answer to that question, plus the beginning of today's mastermind, like literally, you can go and create your business by following that. You find on-market, undervalued properties. You go and find who the active buyers are in that area, and you play deal maker. I mean, listen, especially for most of you where your markets are at, like we're in a more, for most of us anyway, more of a level market, and even moving a little bit on the buyer side in some markets. Like that's proactive, that you can proactively create transaction opportunities out of thin air. So and we actually covered this on a mastermind maybe back in the fall briefly, but let's go over how we can find the on-market properties that we can then rewind this session and go back and pop them in and find the potential buyers for that property using PropStream.
Perfect question here. So the first way, Shay, to do that would be obviously to pull up your market. And because you're looking for active market, actually there's multiple ways to answer this question, but the first way I would address it would be just right off the bat, just do exactly what you're saying. Look for on market. That's one of our categories right there.
Beautiful.
Go to our MLS section, specify what type of property. Is it a listing for sale, for rent? Sounds like you're looking for sale. So isolate that.
Yep.
And then we have a category, a filter. It says literally listed below market price. So the way that this filter works is we have an estimated value. And if that estimated value is lower than that list or higher than that listed price, then that's what we consider listed below market value. So just go ahead and select that. And then what you see here are all the remaining properties. So again, estimated values. So let's look at this one right here. Estimated values are higher than the listing price. And so we have an estimated value of 485, and then we have a listing of 450. So that's one way you can approach it. Just utilize our data set for that. But then here's also something to consider. And again, this is an interpretation that I'm utilizing, but I'm sure we can all come to the same conclusion. But you could use that filter, and that only applies if the estimated value is actually lower than the listing price. But in most cases, sometimes the values are not even going to ever be higher than the listing price because it might be an area that's gentrified, right? So one thing to consider is going into PropStream, looking for on-market properties, but not just any on-market properties. I would argue that something for sale that's been sitting on the market for, let's say, 5 months is undervalued. It means that you probably put that listing price way too high. And that's why it's been sitting on market for more than 5 months now. So while it's not blatantly saying, hey, this is undervalued or you're too high of a listing, it's indicating that no one's interested. So you might need to start slashing your prices a little bit, or this is the opportunity for you to go in there and have a conversation with the seller and see if they're looking for other options as well. So I would argue just utilizing days on market could help you identify those properties that are starting to get price slashes. And eventually, if enough price slashes occur, it could be a property that's listed below market price.
So Burton is illustrating a couple of things, but one of my favorite things about PropStream is you can layer on the filters. The simplest version of this is on market, active for sale, under market value. But as you add more filters, you're dwindling down the list so you can work smarter, not harder. So you can get very strategic, and you know your market, so you have a good idea of what types of properties might be in a sweet spot for fix and flippers. And you can use this filtering to identify where are the on-market properties that they're listed on the market, they're undervalued, they've been on the market for X amount of days, whether it's 90, 120, 150, and maybe there's also some other indication of distress. You can look at that as well and then play matchmaker, right? Because you don't know what the motivation of the seller is, and who knows what they'll accept if it's a real written offer. And so you bringing that opportunity to the active buyers in your market, you're bringing that value and then just playing matchmaker. And then at worst, so what here, I'm going to take it 2 steps beyond that. You find a property, you find the cash buyers, you have somebody that's ready, willing, and able. You got a fix and flipper. They are eager. They've got the cash, they've got the crews, etc., and you can't get your offer accepted on that property. Now you know what that guy's looking for, or gal, and now you can use PropStream to go find those exact properties and use the process that I showed back on July 9th and see who's open to an offer, and you have a real in-person buyer who will make an offer on that property today. Okay? Like, I'm telling you, the only thing stopping you from being as busy as you possibly want to be is just implementing these kinds of strategies. It literally, the sky's the limit. I say this like as modestly as possible. I am so busy right now. I've never been this busy with appointments and contracts and escrows in actually doing the business. And PropStream is an integral part of that. It's not the only way that I'm staying busy. For example, I got a cash offer motivated seller lead while we were on here that I've been texting with, and I have to call as soon as we're done here. It's an inherited property. His grandma passed away, so unfortunately, he inherited the property. It's vacant. It's a 4-bed, 1.5 bath. I don't know. Who knows? That'll probably end up being an appointment for tomorrow. Okay, Angelina, once you get the list, how do you market to them? Do you call, send letters? What would your script be? If you send a letter, what would the letter look like? So, number one, for the buyers, pick up the phone and call them. And when you get their voicemail, text them. And I did this morning. This is how, don't make this harder than it is. Hey, Burton, my name is Josh. I see you own some properties in Carlisle Borough. I'm curious if you're looking to add to your portfolio. I have one that might be a good deal for you. Let me know. Give me a call. Actually, I usually say, give me a buzz or shoot me a text. I leave that voicemail. I literally send the text message. Hey, Burton, this is Josh. I just left you a voicemail. I see you own some rental properties in Carlisle Borough. I have something that might make sense to add to your portfolio. Let me know if you're interested. I did that. I reached out to less than 10 this morning, less than 10 of them this morning. I had tangible, detailed conversations with 4 of them. 2 of them made a verbal offer, but that's all I need
Hi,
for now.
Harold.
2 of them made a verbal
One sec.
offer. What's that?
Turning my sound down for the
Oh.
meeting I'm in.
Celeste, sorry, had to mute you. 2 of them gave me a verbal offer to take back to the seller, but all of them told me their buy box. Like I've got now, what am I going to do next? Regardless of this one property that I'm reaching out on, which again is a tired landlord that I use the exact process that I outlined on July 9th, which you can check out in the free school community. That's exactly how I got the hand raise. Regardless of whether we make a deal on that one, I know how to go find more for these 4 that I know exactly what they want. Oh, by the way, one of them, to tie in Kathy's, he'll do residential, commercial, whatever. He can do cash as is up to $1 million. He's got proof of funds ready to roll. I'm not going to put in some time and energy to find that dude some deals. Let's go. So don't make it harder than it is. Now, I think, Angelina, what you may have also been asking is on the seller side or the homeowner side. What is working best for me right now is the process that I outlined on July 9th. I go and build a list. I skip trace them with PropStream. I scrub the data using AI, and I pop them into my cold outreach CRM, and I email and text them. And then I just have a conversation with the ones that raise their hand and say, yep, I'm open to an offer. And I won't show this because I'm trying to minimize the likelihood of this getting flagged, but I will tell you the message that I sent James, who is the tired landlord, that was I'll call it inspiration for this session, at least on some level. My outreach was very simply, hey, James, in English, would you consider selling your property at 142 West Penn Street to a private client of mine, ? Thanks, Josh. That was it. That was the cold outreach. And he said, sure, minimum offer would need to be blank. He told me his number. And we just had an ongoing conversation. I met him there yesterday. So this morning I started reaching out to dispo the deal. Again, if nothing else. Oh, so here are the 3 questions that I asked the cash buyer. Are they looking to add to their portfolio? What is are they long-term buy and hold? Are they flipping? Or what else? Clarifying their buy box. And then lastly, you got anything you want to unload? Got any properties you want to unload? Right? Now, none of them did, but 2 of them said, we're getting older and we are at a point that we will start to liquidate our portfolio. And I said, absolutely. You've got to save my contact. And I share my contact card through the iPhone, so they have it. And then I add them to my warm outreach CRM, so I've got them documented, so I can make sure to stay in touch with them when they are ready to unload. Burton, this was phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love that. I love that you're literally just saying, do the work and you'll get more work. You did the work on one listing and now you have 4 buyers that are putting more work on your plate.
Absolutely.
Genius. Love
Absolutely.
That. But thank you.
I'm
Again,
guessing,
thank you for having us. I really
yep,
appreciate
and I'm
it.
guessing that you probably are packed high and deep. So I'm going to hang on for a few more minutes, and you can feel free to do so as well. But I only have I have maybe 5 to 10 minutes. We've got some great additional questions, some on this topic, some on different topics. So I'm going to hang out for a little bit before I have to head off to appointments this afternoon. Somebody asked for the school community. I did drop that link in the chat. Again, that is 100% free. And it looks like this right here. Whoops. Right here. So this is the school community. And when you go to classroom and go to replays, okay, classroom replays, if you scroll down to July 9th, that will show you the exact step-by-step. Here's how I build a list in PropStream. Here's how I skip trace it. export it, scrub it. And by scrub it, I mean get rid of the numbers that are on the DNC and known litigators list, which PropStream gives me those numbers. It tells me right there, these are on the DNC. I scrub them out. And then how I do my cold outreach to get the hand raisers, all of that step by step is in there. That the targeting filters is one example, but there's lots of ways that you can build your targeted lists. In fact, I built one early last week. It was my entire county and then one of what I would call distressed or motivating factors, tax delinquency or a lien against the property or pre-probate or pre-foreclosure, or there was one or two other ones I can't remember. And then I built an audience based upon that and did the same process. So my point is, don't get tunnel vision and think you can only do this with tired landlords. Not the case. There are lots of different ways that you can filter and find the target audience that you want. For example, senior owners living in a 2-story property with equity. That's a pretty good list, right? They might be thinking about downsizing into a 1-story, right? Or an active adult community, right? So there are lots of ways that you can filter for what you're looking for. And it's really just matching up what client avatar would I like to do more business with and finding them that way. Burton, thank you again. Garland, my affiliate link for PropStream. Let me go grab my comment here. So I'm going to drop that in the chat again. It's growwithjosh.com/PS. When you sign up there, make sure you shoot me an email because I've got some cool bonuses, including free marketing credits that I can hook you up with. So, Alex, you've got a couple of great questions here that I want to address. The leverage section is empty. That's a good call, Alex. You're right, it is. I need to do something about that. I'll have to get to work on that. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, I built that school community a while ago, and the main thing I put in there is these replays for an easy access, and so I have somewhere to put the ones that YouTube says no thank you to. That's a good call. Thank you for the heads up. Your first question I want to address, because this was a topic 2 weeks ago. How can you work your referrals and stay top of mind with your SOI and so they know your value? So one, there are a couple of set it and forget it strategies that I would recommend. And for a deeper dive on all of them, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Let me double check. It was recently. Was it 2 weeks ago? Doggone it. Was it 2 weeks? You know what? I forgot to add that one to the replay. Never fails. On these sessions, I always find something that I've screwed up. So I'll get that added, but you can find it on my YouTube channel. It was 5 surefire set it and forget it ways to sell more homes in the next 90 days. That's a mouthful. And several of the strategies there are specifically designed to make sure that your past clients and SOI don't forget that you're in the business and ready, willing, and able to help them. The one in particular that is just, for me, the most impactful is our monthly market update postcard. And if you go back and watch that, the way we set it up, you set it up one time, and then you can go and you can tweak the messaging on the fly. You can add to the list of people that are getting it on the fly. But every month, they will get a unique market update postcard with relevant information to their specific address. In other words, what I get at my address, and it looks like this, what I get at my address is different than the people in my SOI who have a Mechanicsburg address. I have an Enola address, okay? They will get something different than what I'm seeing as far as the market update, etc. That is one strategy. There are several others in there. I would highly recommend you check that out. This, once you have your mailing list, okay, you've got your however many. James, the other day, we set up, he had 70. Hank, part of our EXP organization, I set him up the other day. He had, 125 or something like that. Once you have your list, it literally can be done in a matter of 90 seconds to 3 minutes. And it's a piece of cake. It will cost you about $1 to $1.10 per person per month. So The way I view that is it's insurance against the people getting this, forgetting to work with me when they buy or sell real estate. Like it's insurance against them working with someone else because they forgot, because I didn't provide value and remind them, hey, I'm still out here doing it. And then, Alex, you had another great question here. Where do I find the warm outreach system? By warm outreach, this is the answer that I have decided for my business. I'm not saying this is the right answer for everyone. My warm outreach, which is like opt-in leads, my SOI, my past clients, etc., when I'm running ads, things of that nature, is Bold Trail. It's included with EXP. Is it perfect? No, but I've been using it for years and it works for me and it's better than most. It's included with my $85 a month. And if you try and buy it standalone, it's $500 or $600 a month. Okay? But it could be Follow-Up Boss. It could be Sierra Interactive. It could be, I don't know, some of the other legacy ones, Wise Agent, Realty Juggler, right? No right or wrong answer. And then for cold outreach, I use a white labeled version of Go High Level called Pro Edge. And if that's something you're interested in, I will put a link very transparently. That's my affiliate link. If you use that link, if you're interested, you use that link. A couple of things. Number one, you get free onboarding and setup. Number two, you can get a discount off the publicly offered price. And if you're interested, just shoot me an email, josh@growwithjosh.com. I have to wrap up. I'm trying something new on these sessions, so I'm asking for your help and cooperation. At the end of each of these sessions, I'm going to have a survey, 3-question survey. It'll take you literally 30 seconds or less. And so for those of you that could take those 30 seconds or less and go to growwithjosh.com/CB, CB for cash buyers, growwithjosh.com/CB for cash buyers. It's literally, I think they lied. I think it's 4 questions, but it's like rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you need help with? How can we help? And who referred you to the mastermind? It'll take literally 30 seconds and it'll help me. And you know what? I just thought of this now. I'll probably also include an optional section where you can recommend topics for upcoming masterminds. If I don't get that added to that one, next week we'll have that in there. Speaking of next week, we will be digging into a topic that Celeste had recommended, which is using tools like Zapier. And I heard of one this morning that I had never heard of before that is like Zapier, but almost like on steroids. I'm going to play with that one later this week and this weekend, and I'll share that as well. The point of the session, though, is using smart tools like Zapier to automate what you can, to be more productive, to open up more of your time, to be more or your most effective and efficient self. That was a mouthful, but you get the point. So that's going to be the topic next week. Celeste, thank you for that recommendation. What is IFTT? Oh, if this, then that. If this, then that. Yes. Great. And next week would be great. I know we had a specific topic and we did address a couple of questions, but next week I would love for it to be more brainstorming and sharing what you are using to help with this, that, or the other thing so that you can spend more of your time on the higher dollar producing activities. This is one of the cash buyers that I called this morning. He's calling me back. We already talked this morning, so I don't know if he's got something, if he wants to make an offer on something or what, but that's pretty cool. So I got to go because I'm going to have to call him back, and I have to head out to an appointment. I have 3 appointments this afternoon, 2 land parcels, a very motivated seller, and then one that we'll see. She doesn't seem super motivated, but she's open to me popping by. So at some point I'll get her business. Thanks everybody. And look forward to seeing you next week. growwithjosh.com/CB to take the quick 3-4 question survey.